Dwayne. Hope you're around for my wedding.
So, what kind of husband do you want with?
What do you think?
Rich?
I thought you knew me better than that. I would like a man who is educated, enterprising, and ambitious.
So you wouldn't mind if he was poor?
That kind of man is never poor.
I had to hurry up and start this video because I have so much to say about this topic. And I invited my algorithm into today's discussion because there were so many different pieces of content that came up after I came across a video by Kev on Stage on the conversation of 50-50. So today is an experience and it's an assignment, it's a challenge for us to go through this conversation of 50-50 that we've seen on the internet and really lean into different types of responders, different types of perspectives, and challenging ourselves to look from the other lens and consider if there are any thoughts that we need to study. The internet to me is a place to study. And I might sound a little bit hotep or however you could describe it, but I'm going to say these words. The internet is for us to discover the internet, okay?
First of all, we must internalize the flatulation of the matter by transmitting the effervescence of the Indonesian proximity in order to further segregate the crux.
It's fun. It's fun here. It's fun here. I promise. When we're on the internet, we're consuming content. And the content is usually about a topic. And we decide to consume that content. And we can either digest the content or we can spit it out. And for some reason, that is a difficult task. Sometimes we have content that we could spit out, but instead we decide to keep a nasty taste in our mouths. And then we want to put that all the way through other places on the internet. And that's okay. Because the internet is not really about the people who are sharing the content. When I'm sharing this with you all today, this is an experience about how I respond and investigate my belief systems, because that's the theme here. But it's really a prompt for you to discover, why do you respond to content the way that you do? What is it that you want to understand about it? I have my pencil in hand and I'm going to study some of the content that's in my algorithm. I'm going to slow it down because as I was receiving the content, I kept saying, oh, this would be good. This would be good. This would be good. And I said, I had to stop because everything could be good. The way that my lenses are set up is I'm looking for ways for things to connect. And so at surface level, some of the videos that I share with you all today, they might not connect unless I bridge it. So I'm going to do a little bit of bridging as we look at the video together. But my challenge to you, again, is to find out the internet, okay? There's something inner within us that is discovered when we're responding to content, especially if we respond to content. Most of the time, I navigate to funny content, which is why this is in my algorithm. Kev on Stage is somebody who's funny. Ha, ha, ha. Okay? But sometimes he uses his wisdom to share his perspectives on life. Ha, ha, ha. Still in a funny way, right? So this is in my algorithm. It matches. There are other pieces of content that come to my algorithm and I might not actually align with it, but there's something that I learned from it and I know why it's coming to me. But this is not only on the internet. One of the common comments that I see is, oh, this is the internet. This is not a real place. But I will need to break it to you. I'm a real person and I'm on the internet. You are a real person that said that potentially, and you are on the internet. And the thing about it is the internet only exposes, it only gives us visibility to the corners of the world that we don't have visibility into. But it shows us that the human species still needs some developing. We've been developing apps, we've been developing technology, but we haven't developed a character to allow us to live at peace with one another as much as we can. And so somehow, some way, I believe that conversation, pausing and stopping will help us with that. So let's get into today's video. I'm going to show you the video that prompted and inspired today's conversation. Then I'm going to take you on a journey. I'm going to go through my thought processes, through some of the videos I came in contact with after this video that had me thinking and rethinking other ways to position this conversation to you all about 50-50. Okay. But first, let's watch Kev on Stage. What was his thoughts on 50-50 and what inspired him to bring the conversation up today?
If you got to do 50-50, that means you're half of a man. I'm so glad social media wasn't what it is now when me and my wife are doing 50-50 for the majority of our marriage. I'm talking about 50-50, not even a second thought about it. The Bible says she's supposed to be your help meet. So help me meet these bills every month. We got to split these checks up. Come, go half with me. Bible says I'm supposed to leave and cleave. Leave my father and mother, cleave to you, baby. Cleave with me. Cleave with me on the rent. Cleave with me on the lights. Cleave. Please. Y'all strict. We was going 50-50. Then I got fired. And she was the primary breadwinner. I was on unemployment. I was a stay-at-home father making lunch. I can't imagine being on social media the way y'all talk now. And we celebrating 21 years of marriage next week. Let y'all tell her she should have been left me. I ain't start being able to pay all the bills 100% till, nigga, 3-4 years ago. We was getting it together, man. Woo, y'all strict. So glad I'm already in 21.
So immediately, like everyone else, I want to go to the comments because I want to give a read of what his audience is like. How do they respond? Do we have a mix of comments or do we have a lot of people agreeing? What do we see in the comments? Now, I'm not going to share all of the different comments, but I will share ones that stood out to me that's going to help me navigate today's conversation. So this one says, most men you deal with don't help with the children on a daily basis. Don't put that on all men. You let him hit it raw. Now you're a single mom. What's so interesting about comments on the internet is, so some people come into the comments and they create different stories. Like, we don't know each other. A lot of us don't know each other, but we create a story. So if someone comments in a way that bothers us, we assume who they are as a person. My assumption usually is the person has an environment that facilitated their behaviors, that influence the way that they speak and see the world. And sometimes that might be blurry. Sometimes that might scar them in a way that everything looks like a threat and harm, and you can see that in their communication. That's what I do. So I know that I'm a part of this, but I'm always interested in how we come across stories. Like, I'm just making an assumption that this person doesn't know what they're responding to, but they made up a story. But here we are, a dear creator. I'm Daniela, and we are going to create stories that are helpful for us. So some of the processes I go through when I think about sitting and pausing with how I think and respond is, what's a better story? What is the story that I want to create? What is the message that I want to receive? And I do this by going through what I call a growth framework. We've heard growth mindset before. We heard growth in different forms, but my growth framework is about thinking less like a child and maturing in my mindset, maturing in a way that I respond and consume content. So maybe as a child, I might want to eat all the junk food, but as an adult, I understand the benefits of eating healthier, and I'm transferring that into the way that we think. So this growth framework is pretty long. So today I'm only going to be focused on types of responders, which is T. In the growth framework, the T stands for types of responders, because when we say things like men do this or woman always that, we erase the nuance behind how people form beliefs. I label the types not to box anyone in. We are making room for reasons behind the reaction. Every comment, every opinion, every trigger has a backstory. So the question isn't just what someone said. It's what shaped their response and what story they might be protecting. There are different types of responders to the conversation about the 50-50 dynamic. One type is a person who was brought up in the United States of America and they witnessed their father take on the responsibility of the household finances. They witnessed their mother take on the responsibilities of the household with nurturing the children, teaching the children, taking care of the man when he comes home because he went out and he decided to hunt for the family. That person could be either a young boy or a young girl, and they might be influenced because they maybe saw the fruit. They maybe have said, my parents they had a good relationship, they loved each other, and I love that my mom was at home, and so I want to cultivate that environment. What's interesting about type 1 responder is they are allowed to say what they want. They're allowed to create the story of what they want. So even though we look out into the world and we see people doing different things that we don't agree with, we don't have to agree with it. But I just stop and I pause because I'm so interested in why we don't internet enough, right? We don't go into what net is causing us to get caught up into different responses. What net are we getting caught up into when we want to respond to someone with judgment and lack of kindness or understanding, or even with curiosity to understand, why do you think the way that they do? Why do you think the way that you do? So those are the types of challenges that I want to embark here. I actually agree that social media has changed and warped the mind of what relationships look like these days. And so as a parent, I understand that in order for my child to be on the internet, and when I say on the internet, owning spot on the internet with having social media pages, they can be on the internet, they can search, but they're not allowed to add a spot on the internet yet, because it takes a level of maturity to get on the internet. You need to be able to understand that everything you see doesn't need your response. Everything isn't edible. You do not need to consume everything. And you also need to understand that even if you come across content that you don't consume, there's something in that content that's teaching you about yourself, because maybe you're triggered, you're mad, you're upset, or there's something about that content that's going to help you facilitate the conversations you want to have online. So for me, in this area of the internet, I am interested in exposure therapy and rejection therapy, which means I don't know if I got it all right. I have assumed that I don't have it all right, but I also want to expose myself and my thoughts and concepts because of conversation and the beauty of conversation. Because it's through conversation, it's through listening to one another, it's through understanding one another that we get to some type of harvest, which is the end of the growth framework. So anyway, I'm going to go through a few more comments, and I'm going to share with you what stands out about them. And then we're going to go through a process where we listen to the original clip, because we noticed that this clip is only just a little bit of seconds. And I was interested. Is there more to what she said? Because that's the first question, right? When we decide to look at 15-second clips and we live in a lifestyle where we consume those 15-second clips without thinking, maybe there's more context. If I go back to the author of this message, are they putting out their full video? Are they saying more than what we see here, or is there a little bit more here? So that's one thing that I do, because I think that is interesting. I think it's interesting that, one, it does seem like we have a lot of childlike thinking in the internet when we just jump at a response in a way that doesn't go back within ourselves, right? Sometimes when we jump at a response, it's not really about what the creator or messenger is saying. It's about how we decide to respond to it. So we have choices in life. We could choose life or death with our tongue. So do we choose life with our tongue and think about, hey, I wonder why this bothers me, or I wonder what type of advocate I want to be because of this? Like, I can be an advocate in Kev's position. Maybe it's an advocate for people who think that this is true. Maybe there are people out on the internet that do not know how to pause and think for themselves. So they need another voice to come in to be a savior in that mindset to say, hey, I made it. I was 50-50. We have a beautiful marriage. And so I want to share that message. This is how this response looks like to me. But what did other people say in the comments? Everyone is in pretty much full agreement. So this one says, people have commentary of everyone. Let the couples that do what they do and it works for them live. Life is simple, but we make living so hard. Oh, yes, we do. We make living. I think it might be simple. This is why this is so fascinating to me. The internet is so fascinating to me. The internet is fascinating to me, because why do we make it so complicated? I noticed that in my journey of investigating my belief systems that I was having the same questions over and over again. And the beauty in it is I would get closer and closer to refining my understanding, but I kept having those same conversations with myself over and over again. But then I got to a point when I said, oh, I don't think I really have any more questions about this. And I sat with that and I was okay with that. But I noticed that I kept presenting those questions in my walks and relationship and talks with God as if I needed something else, but the question was already answering itself. It was just by default and by nature, or maybe just a system that I've learned that I had to keep going over and over again with the same conversation because there wasn't any security, but also because there were so many different concepts and perspectives and beliefs around it that I started to confuse myself. But when I think about conversations like 50-50, I've noticed that my experience with marriage and understanding what that means is way different than someone else's experience. Because I never was brought up with anyone talking about 50-50. I just lived life and saw that everything was taken care of. When I think about 50-50, I think about scriptures that talk about becoming one. So if you're becoming one, the beauty in becoming one is understanding that you don't have to live in these separate dynamics anymore. There's a beauty in being partners with someone and looking at, oh, you have strength in this area and I have a weakness in this area. And if we come together, that whole concept that you also kind of hear in narratives is maybe two whole complete people. We can look at it that way. I'm 100% and I'm 100%. And saying 50 and 50 doesn't actually mean that person is half of a person. So that's something where I disconnect with the message. But it could just be in the language that we choose. 50-50, no matter what, is becoming whole. When we decide to choose singleness, you can become whole in your singleness. And that looks different than you deciding is not a word. You deciding to become whole with another individual. It might even be like another complex level of a game. That's the way I see it. I don't think that one is worse than the other. I think that the intensity of the game and the game styles are just different and you get to choose. If I have so many different criterias, like he has to be 6 feet. He has to have a lot of money. He has to do this. I have to understand that my pool of choices might be smaller, but that might be smarter, right? Because if I know what I want and I'm definitive about what I want, then I have a higher opportunity to get what I want. But then there's a complexity there because in order to really get what you want and identify with someone that way, you have to see that there's different aspects of that. So if I'm only looking at outer things, that he has a height, that he has money, and I'm not looking at the character of a person, that's going to disconnect me from what I actually end up with. Because I'm putting something out there. I'm just putting out that I only care about things externally. That means there's no character in me. There's no spirit in me. I don't have any development of different insights and perspective of the world. But if I start with, I want to evolve with someone. I want someone who has core values that matches with mine. And these core values might be related to my walk in my faith or just things I learned in maturity in life that I was able to take from the people that I know or observations. And so I might know that I want someone who is kind because that's the bare minimum. That's the bare minimum, to have someone that's kind, to have someone who's slow to anger, someone who can use their tongue to edify. I might want someone who doesn't keep a record of my wrongs, right? Where am I getting some of this? There's the chapter in Corinthians that talks about love. Sometimes it replaces with charity, but the outcome is still the same. That I use as a benchmark for how do I want to be as a person. And although I might get someone that mirrors those same values, I might also get someone who's different than me, and I want to learn and study them. And when I say learn and study them, I mean, I want to evolve with this person. They have the same values as me. Like, we get it. We both want to be kind, loving, do our best, understand that we have mistakes and that we're not all going to be together. But there are certain things that we have deal breakers for. So you'll see in some of the shows, they have this question about what's your deal breaker? Some deal breakers might be you do not know how to operate in self-control or you're not willing to. You don't have a desire to. It might be that you are only surface level. You don't have any depth. Like, you don't think past the surface. So that might be a deal breaker because I can already see where that lands me. If they're coming from emptiness and you don't want to do anything to develop that emptiness, like we can all start from nothing but create something. If you're not a creator, it might be a deal breaker. But moving on, we're thinking about this concept of a person who decides to only look at someone for the outer things and not for what's inside. So there might be some shallowness. You might get exactly what you asked for. But if you form quality questions, if you study the person enough to be interested in them, you get an idea of patterns. You get an idea of like what's core to them. You get an idea of their willingness and their interest. This is not about the potential in a person. It's just about the desire and willingness and their current behavior patterns. So what are we actually looking for if we say, I want someone who has a lot of money? Well, there might be character traits that get someone a lot of money in a way that grows them and grows other people. So their character could be the root of this, is what I'm saying. So their root is, hey, I have principles. I am fair. I am wise. I'm considerate. And this is why I'm able to get money, because of my stewardship, my carefulness, and my money grows because of that. That's different when I'm looking for someone who has those character traits. They may get to that. As we see in Kev, he said eventually he got to that, right? So there's some character that comes in there. And I'm assuming, I'm not really sure, but I'm assuming that he follows the Christian faith. And I know that in some of his content, this is what he says, but the only way I can assume is I don't know if anyone does. I don't even know how we all do it effectively because there's so many rules around it. Segue. But when I say I assume he follows the Christian faith, I'm assuming that he follows principles of the Bible and follows Christ-like behavior. So in Christ-like behavior, how did he deal with people when it comes to judgment? So how did Christ build as a carpenter? How did he communicate to people? What type of things did he get upset about when people were getting taken advantage of? So I'm just saying that when we look at a framework, some people who are believers in a God or a Bible might use the Bible as a framework to really cultivate what's the best decision. But here is the other part of this. You might get someone who's performative. You might get someone who doesn't actually fit their values. And that's because they don't know how to. They didn't really know how to do earth yet. Some of us don't know how to do earth. So we don't know what mistakes we're going to make. We don't know what type of situations or environments are going to change us as a people. One example that stands out to me is just the fact that we don't have instructions for parenting. And so there are things that might happen in your life. There might even be a death that happens, things that you just don't know how to deal with. And once you deal with them, you can only lean on your character as a foundation, but that might not be enough because you don't really know what it's like to deal with the situation. So a man might leave a woman with children that he birthed with her because he didn't have the foundation to do so. And part of us could be upset with that, but the other part is who raises the children who leaves in these situations? And did they focus on character? Probably yes. Probably no. But here is what I'm saying. There's so many different nuances to people's responses. There's so many different nuances to what people say. And this is why we had to lean back to ourselves, because I could really take you on a journey, y'all. I'm not even finished with this part. There's so many different ways that I can interpret and keep growing that message in that direction, because ultimately we're looking at a person for their outer appearance, and we're not looking at their foundation, their value systems, in order to realize if they are equipped to be in a marriage. Like, a marriage is a different type of game. It's a beauty at the end of those games, but it requires so much. Marriage requires so much of you. So too much is given, much is required means that if I am going to have a lot of money, I might want to know what to do with it, because I can have a lot of money, but there can be a lot of expenses that I didn't consider with that money that keeps me in a poor mindset. So our relationship with money matters. So not that he has the money, but what type of relationship does he have with the money? Then we can get dynamics. Well, maybe there's a strength in you and a weakness in you that he's looking for to help him, because he has the wisdom to know I'm not strong in this area. but this is what I can offer you. And I hope that what I see in you is true and that we can work together as a team. Does anyone else hate a man who be like, well, what do you think? What do you think I should do? I'm just a girl.
And this is one of the reasons why I say one of the greatest decisions you will ever make in your life is the person you decide to spend the rest of your life with. Picture being with somebody who says that I am not your mother when you're asking them for their input or any type of advice or feedback. Because in my personal opinion, as a man, I can lead, I can provide, I can protect. But when I go into war in this life, I want to make sure that I have a teammate and not a liability. Because in my personal opinion, women see things that men don't see. Like when I'm moving forward, I always hope that my woman will have my back. And I will do everything in my power to amplify her strengths, protect her during her weaknesses, and I hope I get that reciprocation. So if there's anything I would truly say, ladies, if a man ever asks you for any advice, if he asks you for any feedback, it's because he trusts you. It's because he actually thinks that you have a good head on your shoulders. So don't think that he's asking this question because he wants you to be his mother. It's because he actually sees something wonderful within you that can actually be applied to his life the way that he may want to apply it to you. Just my opinion.
Ultimately, when we survive on Earth in America, team partnerships, like that sounds phenomenal to me. Trying to do things by yourself and not building a community, not having a partner, seems like you're playing a very hard game. That's just my assumption, because I know that some people see the beauty in singleness, because singleness is a separate type of game that's equipped for different people, but they can also be whole. It's just that they're made differently. I think people who are designed for marriages are designed for truly designed, because some people get into marriage with very superficial understanding of it. But when I have a vision of marriage in its true, most powerful form, is that you're designed to see yourself, because you will see the worst of yourself and the best of yourself with the partner who is at least willing to grow with you. And growing doesn't always look beautiful. Sometimes we don't grow in the right direction. Sometimes there is some changes that you have to do that aren't naturally a part of your organic responses to life. Okay, I had to get a sentence out. So our natural organic responses to life might challenge us because we think, oh, I'm angry, I'm sad, then this is it. But now that's a challenge. What do I do when I feel that? How do I make something beautiful out of that thought? And what I see in marriages and the reflection in the relationships that we can have is that, hey, my foundation is someone who is willing to grow, someone who is not going to keep a record of my wrongs, and that's going to look different because we have our boundaries. We're not requesting that we just get with anyone, and we have to make that match, that same energy, because when we say we just want somebody for their height or we want them for their money, we're also saying in that same breath that we don't care about the character of that person. So that means that I can get somebody who has a lot of money, who doesn't want to spend time with me, that doesn't like me. I can get someone with a lot of money who sees me as their property. I can get someone who has a lot of money and who can harm me. Or if I go in the other direction and their foundation is their good character, they can grow and have a lot of money and treat me well because that's who they are as a person. But we can't be superficial with it. I talked longer than I wanted to in that section, and I'm trying not to go through this video so long. But this is a topic I think is so interesting because it's one of those topics that really provides war on the internet, and the wars that we see that could be happening in this world, the wars that are happening outside of the internet. My theory is that those wars happen because the type of wars that we have in these mini wars. That we're not maturing in our mindset in the way that we're thinking. And we have these wars with our inner selves. We have these wars with other people where we want to blame them from everything. But we're not allowed to sit and reflect because we're trying to navigate this world. So we don't sit here. But I'm giving myself space, and I'm inviting you all to do it for your own personal investigation of belief systems, but give yourself space to really think about, like, why did I say that? Why do I believe that? Did I hear it on the internet and consumed it? Did I see fruit of it in my life? Do I know what the fruit of it is? Do I just make assumptions? Do I have evidence of whatever it is that I believe is true? Like, evidence is a strong word, is the key word for this session here. We need the evidence and we need kindness. Those are our key words. Evidence. You can look for evidence of good. You can look for evidence of the worst. What we see here in Kev Hart's video is evidence that, or perceived evidence because we don't know him, that you are able to work 50-50 and have a beautiful marriage. And we've heard different discussions, maybe me, because he's in my algorithm right now, but he's had different discussions about his marriage and the ups and downs. But you can also see the type of fruit that has come from them sticking together, their children, the success that has come from it, the partnership and friendship that you see that goes past the screen. Sometimes when I'm looking at the screen, I can tell that something is AI. Right? I can see in the movements, I can see in a way that it's acting is soulless, even with the most sophisticated AI so far. I don't know. I'm still practicing because there's some new ones coming out that doesn't have the weird finger things, but I can tell that it's AI because it's soulless. And some of the content that I consume, even if it's without soul, I can get a message from it. But when it's with soul, when there's with some transparency or authenticity, I can feel it. So I am making an assumption here, but I'm assuming that there is good fruit that came from him having a marriage and having a 50-50. When we make decisions from a very young mindset, doesn't always mean bad, because I have children that are young and they think in a mature way. But the young mindset limits us from the opportunities of growth. So if I think in a young mindset and my only thought is 50-50 is a no, understanding what that means, detailing what do I mean by that is also helpful. Because I think some people can say that 50-50 is a no, but when we back it up with an understanding of what that means, it's helpful. Last story before I go into this next portion. So if you ever came across a TV show called A Different World, there's a couple. It's Whitley and Dwayne. And Whitley and Dwayne are from different worlds. Whitley is very bougie. She got a lot of money. Boom, bam, bam. And Dwayne doesn't have a lot of money, but he's attracted to her. He finds her beautiful. Boom, boom, bam. They have a relationship together. And throughout the show, you can see like how they're different, but they grow together. They grow in this love. They go through all these things. Boom, bam, bam. But there's a phrase that comes out of a conversation between them that talks about the rich mentality, right? So Dwayne believes that he has to be rich in order for to be a man for Whitley. But Whitley shares these words with Dwayne.
I just want to thank you, Dwayne. Hope you're around for my wedding.
So what kind of husband do you want with?
What do you think?
Rich?
I thought you knew me better than that. I would like a man who is educated, enterprising, and ambitious.
So you wouldn't mind if he was poor?
That kind of man is never poor.
Shifting the perspective that the richness that comes from you is about the type of man that can get those riches. And the only reason I would just add a caveat here is that you can have rich man without any debt. But what you want is a rich man, whether it's financially or with wisdom, to be in your life. Because we can see that the world has a lot of systems in place. It's not easy for everyone. People can work hard and have these ethics, but they may not actually see the income. But these people can be poor and raise children with good character who end up being able to get riches. But now they have the gift of the riches and the physically poor mindset that made them rich in their actual world. So it actually helps itself, for lack of better words. But I was going to go through all of the comments, but I'm not going to go through all of the comments because I have a lot of videos I want to go through. But to sum up the comments, I just see that there are areas where we can realize that everybody doesn't have to be the same, one. And two, that just because someone thinks differently doesn't mean that it's bad. It might be in the delivery, right? If we deliver our message and our message is truly received by ourselves, we don't have to talk down to other people, because that doesn't make our message better. We don't have to make other people look bad in order for our message to be true. If we really believe, hey, I don't need a man, right? Let's say a woman says, I don't need no man. I don't need no man, right? Let's say she really feels that. That's all she needs to say. She doesn't have to say that men are dogs, because she doesn't know every man in the United States of America. But the truth is, there probably are men who act without any ethics, without any character. They're probably out there. But we don't have to state that when we're stating our truth, because we don't know all of the world. We could just say, I've been successful without a man. I have full love with myself. I have a relationship with my belief system, with my God, and I feel like I can help others in this way. Boom, bam, bam. With my belief system, the poor, they're getting fed. With my belief system, the widows are taken care of, right? I don't need to dumb anyone down in order to say my message is the theme here. But it has to be practiced. As I say this, I don't know how this come across, but as I say this, I know that I'm practicing. I'm practicing, how do I say my message without having to dismiss the fact that everyone on earth don't know what they're doing, and that includes me. And that means that we're all trying to figure it out, and we're all trying to share our strengths and our weaknesses. And if we came together as one, as a whole, we might be able to fulfill life on earth where we can live well and love well. But let's look at a few of these other clips that I think are interesting. They're going to add to our conversation about men and women and give us an opportunity to investigate ourselves. So as we go through these, I want you to point out any keywords. Any keywords that stand out to you. It could just be a few, it could be a sentence, but I want you to actually point out the keywords and write them down. So when I was listening to this original video, the ones that I wrote was help me, and the Bible says leave and cleave. You know what that inspired me to do? It inspired me to go into the Bible and look up examples. So first I'm thinking about, on the top of my head, what type of examples make me research the Bible? Well, I'm thinking about King Solomon, right? I'm thinking about, he had all this wisdom. Then he had a lot of money, and he had so much money that he could have a lot of women. But then he had so many women that wisdom didn't all the way work through. He ended up getting himself further away from the source that gave him the wisdom. But he had a lot of money, and he did well things. But does it make him a bad person that he failed or had a mistake? I don't know, because it seems like he still was in good standing with God. I'm not in that relationship. I'm not in those prayer rooms, but I'm just using what I see in the Bible as inspiration. I don't know all the breakdowns or all the precepts or all of the things, but I thought about that story because he was a man that had a lot of money. I also think about the virtuous woman. So the virtuous woman, she is someone who supposedly had her own thing going on, but you know what else you see? She had help. She had a village. She had a system. So one of the comments that came across that I saw was talking about the man wanting a woman to have all of these responsibilities, but doesn't help in those other responsibilities. So they want the woman to work. This is a story that we create. They want the woman to work, and it's also a reality for some. They want the woman to work and the man to work, but the woman to do all of the labor for cleaning the house and taking care of the children without the man helping. That doesn't seem fair. Another point out in this message is we saw that Kev was staying at home with the children. So this is where we start to create together. We become co-creators with one another. This is where I think we can actually activate and see God on earth. We haven't seen God. There's a scripture that said we don't see God. But what if we start seeing God in one another? We still have a choice to see the anger of God in each other. We can see the judgmental God in one another, or we can see the God of love. We can see the God of long suffering. So we have that choice. But what God do we want to see in one another? the idea that we are children of God, for those who have an ear, believe in the Bible, there's a theory that maybe you can create your own reality. So maybe it is not 50-50. Maybe it's not like in the time past where men worked only. Maybe it's that we created a system and we love through it together. And maybe that's what works for us. And when things do not work for you, then you remove yourself from the situation, especially if it's harmful. But you also have to investigate when things aren't working for you. Is it not working for you because of your stubbornness or your lack of understanding or shallow thinking? Or is it not working for you because you are harmed? You're literally being harmed. And that is extended to both spiritually and mentally, not just physically. That's my thoughts. That's my theory. Some people believe that you should still get hurt physically if you're going to ride or die through a marriage. That's just a deal breaker for me. Like, that's actually immature to take our hands, the same hands that we can use to love, and harm someone with it. It's just, this doesn't connect with me. And I don't like it. I just don't like it. But let's look at these videos, look at keywords. We're going to go on to this next one.
I don't date broke women, not because I need their money, but because being broke usually means poor choices, weak discipline, and no understanding of how the real world works. If you can't manage your own life, you have no business helping me manage an empire. Money issues destroys more marriages than anything else after sex. So I'm not looking to raise a woman. I'm looking to build with one. And yes, I'll be a provider, but for only a woman who knows how to handle resources and was already resourceful long before I showed up.
Okay, algorithm. So I end up seeing this video just a few minutes after I saw the Kev video, and I was just like, okay, why y'all always doing this, algorithm? But I'm here. Keywords for me. Being broke means poor. I think that this can be challenged, but I understand what this means, especially when he carries out the rest of his message. Being broke, and the word broke makes sense. Like, if you're broken, there's a poor mentality. So I believe that you can be rich in your mindset and wealthy in your mindset, but there doesn't absolutely need money. You don't need money to achieve that type of wealth. And I believe that there's wealth because when you don't have a wealthy mindset, the decision that you make can harm you and harm others. It can put you in jail, or it can put you in a hospital if you don't know how to use wisdom. So the wealth in that is because I know how to treat my body or how to speak to other people, then that grows my relationships. But do I need money to prove that? Money is a tool, money is a resource, but it doesn't need to prove whether or not I am a person who is resourceful. So one example for me is in the early years of my marriage, I did not pay for anything. I was at home. It takes a lot of work to be a stay-at-home mom. I was at home. I was also going to school, but I knew how to get resources because you know what? Although I did not have to pay for anything, we were in a situation where there was so much money coming out of our household because of the belief system we attached ourselves to at that time. But I used my resources without any money in order to understand where I can get help. And that was because the way I thought about things, because I investigated, because I was curious. But I don't think that the money is what makes you resourceful. And sometimes you would have to test a person. I don't like the idea of testing a person, but when you are studying during a dating or during the courtships or whatever, you study sincerely. So I'm not positioning these questions to go off a checklist. Like, hey, do you do this? I did one time. wanted to know if you can make people laugh. I did that before, and I stay true to that. Like, if you cannot make me laugh, I can't even get through the rest of the conversation. I know that I'm supposed to put that you need to have some type of character, but like, I'm not going through this life without laughter. Okay. So that's very, very top on the list, but it's next to character. It's like next to it. Like, you got to be funny because I got to survive America, and I cannot survive America because I'm mostly serious. If I'm not near the people who bring out that energy in me, I'm mostly serious. So like, I need the funny. But anyway, the checklist is something that's in your spirit. So when you have natural conversation, organic conversations, you get to study a person, you really are interested in them. You will learn about their nature, and we take out the blinders, because in studies, when I was studying in school about family science, because I got to make that degree work, we learned about the 6 months and the infatuation stages and how they start to fade. And this is where you start to make sure you kick in your, what do you call it? Your survival techniques. And when I say survival, I'm using that loosely because there's another way I can describe this. But thinking about navigating this earth and what you need in your tool system. When I was studying the animal kingdom, I wanted to know, did any of these animals really love each other? Did they stay monogamous? I want to know about the ones who did. And a lot of the feedback I was getting in the studies is that there are very few that love each other and they stick in monogamous relationships. And that was enough for me. It doesn't have to be the whole animal kingdom, but I'm not going to decide to be this part of the animal kingdom just because I see that it's a few that really truly love and they took care of their families together. Part of what I learned is that some people stay in relationships for survival. Like, it has nothing to do with love. They're just trying to survive Earth. So I use that techniques when I'm reviewing people online, and the choices that I'm trying to investigate is that sometimes the survival is there, and we have to unlearn that. And so you have to have patience and understanding that you might understand something. It might be clear for you that that's stupid, but why do you think that person is making a stupid decision? I would lean towards a conversation that I had with a woman named Kelly. She was on the internet. She's all over the internet. People are upset about her decision making. But I wonder, what are some aspects of the story that we just don't understand because we would never do it? We have to lean in with this, especially when it comes to relationships, because people will change in different ways because of the environment changes or the circumstances changes. So at the core of me, do I want to grow with a person who changes in that capacity? If no, then you just don't sign up for marriage. You can't force people to want what you want. If you want to do marriage, you gotta take it for what it is. If you want to do marriage and you want it to be perfect, then you have to wait until people are perfected. But sometimes people aren't perfected in the way that you want them unless they do have partnerships and teamwork. But that's just a theory. I don't have all the answers in life. But moving on. In this video, keywords that stand out to me: being broke means poor. There's a proverb that I've seen in Proverbs that stands out to me as a man who's rich. Who's poor. He's poor. He's a poor man, but his wisdom helped save cities. If I can find that verse again, I'm gonna put it up because I know I'm butchering a little bit. But the idea and why it's inspiring is that we think that people have to have the physical money in order to bring wealth. But sometimes they could be poor. Like, this man was poor. He didn't have the system set up for him, probably. Maybe he was not a steward of his money, but his wisdom still was able to save a city. And that's profound, because there are people who have a lot of money. There are people who seemingly have a lot of intelligent words to say, but they aren't able to save a city. They're not even able to direct a city without immature behavior. But a poor man, supposedly in this proverb, has. And I do believe that is beyond this proverb, because I think about some of the families that came up with, people who loved each other but were poor, and they've developed children who were able to go out in this world and then match that lesson that they learned growing up or the wisdom growing up and went out into the world. Doesn't mean that everyone needs to come from a family like that. It's just fruit of what happens when you do have love as your income mostly versus the money. Now, I think what I just said opens up a whole different conversation because they say love don't pay the bills. But I think I'm going beyond our physical world, right? I'm going beyond money because love is not just that superficial, oh, I just want to butterfly with you. Love is what I see in the scriptures that can lead you to money. It's the patience, it's the long suffering, it's the kindness. Those type of things are relationship building, which is a lot of what makes money out of here. If you're networking, if you know a person and they have resources, the type of person you are can put you in the right environments to make you money that answereth all things. So it's not that love doesn't pay the bills. It's the type of love that might pay your bills. For some reason, I think I'm dropping bars, but y'all let me know in the comments because I'm so excited about this topic that I have so much to go through. He also mentioned that he doesn't want to raise a woman. And this is beautiful, right? Because I believe that women should not be raising men. However, I think women and men in some capacity will be raising one another because we don't see many mature adults in the United States of America. The way that we respond online, the way that we don't have empathy, the way that we don't know how to human the human experience, the way that AI has more empathy and more understanding of all the isms, the racism, the sexism, and can pull these conclusions better than some of the humans on earth, says that we still need some maturing to do. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I believe that we have to understand that there is a stunt in our growth because of how things are manufactured outside of us. But we still have the ability to make choices from this point on. I cannot do anything about what happened to the past or how things happen, but I can do something about today. So I can start to mature and to learn and to investigate what it means to do so. As I go on a self-awareness journey, as I get to understand myself, I learned that there's things, even though I can mature my talking always, even if I can think all the perspectives and the concepts, that also is something that keeps me in an overthinking mindset that still is in a childlike mindset. So for instance, if I'm trying to cultivate this beautiful world, like nothing goes wrong. Sometimes that means I can be in something to say, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore because this makes me feel uncomfortable. Like I can easily rip things apart. I can easily deter myself. I can easily detach emotions. But there's some immaturity in that because some of the maturity comes through growing through that and learning about myself. So although I'm not in the business of raising a man, and I don't think men are in the business of raising a woman, when we are intimate with one another, and not just physically, but intimate with our hearts and seeing each other vulnerable and seeing the weakness of one another, sometimes we'll see that there's a child that hasn't been nurtured. That in some cases, when that's your strength, you're going to nurture that. And I feel like that's on both sides. We don't want to be in that all the time. But when you do get truly intimate and you really get to know your partner, you might see that there's some things that they still act like a child about. And you being together can be an opportunity for you to have a little bit of a father and a mother in you. We see this in some studies, and sometimes it seems weird to say that, but it's not necessarily looking at it like this is my father, this is my daddy, or this is my mama. It's more like what father and mother provides to the child is there's nurturing. And we have to look at what's true, is that some of us have not had all the tools and the resources for how to do earth. So that means we might mess up. That means that some of our parents have messed up. And although we can blame everybody, we are only left with what do we want to do from here? And we can grow as much as we can with ourselves and with our belief systems. But sometimes another level of growth could be putting yourself in a mirror with someone else, being your partner, your intimate partner, and then growing with them. So having a partner with them. Because the other thing about having a partner is 2 is better than 1. So you might grow faster. We are in the middle of working with our garden, and we're learning a lot of things about our garden. And as we're learning about our garden, we also notice that plants have different approaches to their growth. And there are plants that are okay with bugs and some that suffer by them, but they all operate differently. When we look out on the internet, we look out in the world, we have to see each other that way. Because we have such limited time and space, we're not making the time and space to get to know a person, their background. We're not even going to do all of that. So we have to make this about ourselves. Like, how do we grow through it? So I thought that was cool. Let's go to this next video. So this next video is a video that came across my feed last week, but I thought it fit this conversation. So let's take a look here.
Dating a man who can't help you financially is a waste of time. A grown woman needs a teammate, not a project. Love doesn't pay bills. Partnership does. Potential isn't currency. Empty promises won't fix a broken budget. Why build dreams with someone stuck in survival mood? Romance without resources is just a pretty distraction. And a man allergic to responsibility will always bring chaos. You are not a charity. Stop funding dead relationships or swapping your shine for his shackles. Ambition is hot. A leech is not. A real man elevate your life, not empty your wallet. If he can't match your hustle, he will drown your grind. Your time is premium. Don't let freeloaders binge it. Love shouldn't leave you broker than you started. And a partnership should add value, not subtract options. Stop romanticizing struggles. A man who can't invest in your future isn't ready for your present. Broken promises won't secure stability. You deserve more than scraps of effort. You are not here to fix men. You are here to build empires.
Okay. So depending on who you are as a responder on the internet, you might see passion here. There's different types of responders, right? A man can come into this comment and say, that's why y'all single, right? And he talking about y'all. Like, he don't know who read the message, but he makes an assumption based off of his ecosystem or his world. So this is the way I like to look at life. When we make assumptions or we make observations, we're basing our truth off of maybe collectively seeing the same thing. So imagine there's a man in the United States of America or a woman in the United States of America, and they have come across 10 people who were manipulative, liars, cheaters, dogs. Now they think the world is made up of that because they saw those 10 people. But I don't know if any of y'all noticed, but the world has more than 10 people. Bet. Then they tell you these studies, right? They put out these studies and tell you that 20% of men do this, 50% of men do that. But here is the catch. All of the people in the United States of America and the world aren't in the study. How do I know? Because I didn't get the study. I didn't participate in any of the studies that I see come across. I'm just one person. I'm assuming that you weren't in a study too. But if you were, please let me know in the comments and tell me how that experience was. But here we are, surveying people the best we can, using the best methodology, but we're still not getting a concrete answer that we can look for evidence of a horrible world, or we can look for evidence of a beautiful world. So that means that although those 10 people are there, that might mean you're in the wrong environment. If I'm in a kitchen and I'm trying to take a bath, I will never be able to take a bath in a kitchen because the tools and resources for me to do so are not there. However, creativity can come in and I can somehow bring something into my environment, use the water in the kitchen, and have a bath somehow. But there is an environment that is cultivated for me to have a bath, to take a shower. It was built for that. Other ways we deal with things when we're in an environment that doesn't build for our success is to be creative in order to get to our ultimate goal. So here's me being creative. There's some keywords in here that stands out that I think might not hit if you look at maybe the way that the message is delivered. There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of strength. Okay. And so I can see why someone would come across this video and say, that's why y'all single. The other part of this is we have to be real in life. There are people in the world that do not like us. There are men in the world that do not like women because of their environment. And there is no nurturing, there is no mothering that's going to help those cases. And you have to see that for what it is. And we have to be honest. But we can use our words to edify or add a response instead of always thinking on the bad, right? If I'm going to add narrative, I'm going to add my piece to it. What do I think the fruit of it is? If I say, hey, I think all women should remain single because of this content creator, I'm limiting people in life to this one content creator that I saw on the internet. That's the same limitation to those 10 people around you. So now we got 10 people around us that makes our observation of the world true. And now we're adding these fake people that we don't know, that we haven't observed, that we haven't experienced. We're also adding that, and our algorithm is a part of it. So our algorithm can be helpful for us, but our algorithm is also teaching us what is it that we keep consuming and why. Or even if we think it came by accident, what are we learning from it? So another type of responder that could come to this message could be like, yeah, F them, F man, F all of them, okay, right? And then they could think like, I don't want a man because it's nothing helpful. The only men that I've been around are this way. People will say, you know what? The reason why you got this worst man is because of the choices that you made. But we don't remember that we came to Earth not knowing how to do things. And some people had some guidance and some references. Some people were stronger in wisdom than others. But there is a reason that people got together in some cases. Some of it might be foolish and it ended on dead stone. But some people thought that they actually were with someone who had a sound mind. And then that person changed. And you don't know that people are going to change. You don't know that person's going to change. So we don't consider that those are also cases that exist, which is why the internet is such an entertaining place. It should be entertaining and an opportunity to learn about yourself. Because you can't absolutely believe that just because a person commented that way that you know everything about their life and their stories or the dynamics. Because there are people who comment on places and are in happy marriages and they don't know that. And the person responds and says, oh, you must be single. And the person ends up not being single. But their personality, who they are, was somehow loved by someone else. And I think it's hard for people to see that people, even who don't understand or who do have these high standards, can meet someone who matches them. Like somebody might be rich and say, you know what? All I really want is someone who's beautiful. So I don't know all of the understanding of this story in the Bible, but with Leah and Rachel. But I know when Rachel's husband saw her, he saw beauty. But I also can couple that with the fact that she was kind and she was also working hard. And maybe those are attributes that made her beautiful to him. I don't really know. It don't give me much details there. I would have to really, sit with them. But from the inspiration of that story, I'm thinking, we can see a beauty in a person maybe just by their physical look. A man might just say, I don't need nothing from you. I just want you to be beautiful. I want you to be happy and I want you to laugh. And I would sign up. I think people would sign up. I think there are men who would want a woman to say, all I want you to do is to be handsome, take out the trash and fix the oil. And that's all I want from you. This is what we have to understand. Life is about a matching game. If you have been watching that show called Pop the Balloon, there's a famous line and it goes, it's a match. Okay. We can make matches, y'all. It's not difficult. Like that first comment, she said, we are making it difficult. We don't have to make it difficult. I made this long video and I'm still going to be going to emphasize that this can be simple. The choices are very simple. Life or death. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. I can use my words to edify. I can use my words to get to know people, to study them, to understand what I'm getting into. I can use my words to form quality questions. Or I can use my words to be limited in my thought. I can use my words to down other people. I can use my words to misunderstand people. I can use my words to destroy people. Words are important. You want to know why? Because it's words that start wars. It's words that give the go to stop feeding people. It's words that give the go to make people homeless. These are words that have power and they activate. But we can also realize that in that same system, words can do other things as well. And we have to put some action behind it, some intention behind them. So words are powerful. That's what we'll get out of today's message, if anything. Words are powerful. So how do we use we use our words effectively? Is not a question that I can answer for you. It's something I can study and I can practice and show you all. But it's something that I am challenging you all to do. What else did I write here? So another key word that this content creator shares is a real man elevates your life. Now, this is important because even though we have our limited experiences, I have to make note that those are the experiences that we have. So if you come across a person and they are not elevating your life, then that should stand out to you. In what ways do you think they are responsible for elevating your life? That's why you get into partnerships, right? If you stay single and you can elevate your own life and in what you require out of a certain person, you can't give to yourself, you're going to have a difficult time because it's really about inner self. Like the single person who's really working on themselves, cultivating their understanding of their belief systems, really trying to understand what self-love means instead of just going to the spa or those things work and they're helpful, but like taking care of myself, the consumption of what I eat, the consumption of what I think, it's a difficult task, but like I have this willingness and desire to do so and I start to see fruits. Like that's really someone in their singlehood really developing themselves to add if they come together with someone else. But ideally, or the word is not ideally, but there's an opportunity that people might not be fully, completely understanding the earth, got it all together when they come to you. So this is where the studying comes in. These are where the questions come in. Going back to the Pop the Balloon show, some of the questions are shallow and you only have a limited time. So this is not a real life experience. Like this is not how life is set up. I don't have this setup where I could just choose like, can I get that nanny? Can I get that chef? Like I don't have that right now. Maybe if I keep creating content and people like it, I might one day. But the structure is manufactured. We have people that are presenting these questions to other people, but the questions don't consider the questions. They don't consider what's important. Like, for example, if I'm going on a show where there's multiple people from different areas and I say that I signed up and don't care about that, but then I pop someone on their location, that should have been the first question because this is something that's important to me. Just like earlier, I mentioned that there's values that should be important to you, okay? But all in all, the last thing that stands out to me is she mentioned matching your hustle. I think this is gonna reach an audience that believes in that. Like everything is like, I don't know how to explain this right now the best way possible. But the idea is matching your hustle. It might not be that people have to match exactly what you do, but you have to understand how you elevate one another's lives. And it's not all about you just consuming. It's all about what do you give out? How do you help and support? Because there's a system, but the way that we help and support may look differently because the way that I observe the world and I identify the differences is men might provide something different than a woman might provide. And the man choosing to be with a woman has to understand the full capacity of a woman. Like women go through different cycles. We do have emotions. We have feelings. So when a man is mad at a woman for being emotional or talking or things like that, that shows a lack of patience or a lack of understanding, a lack of studying. I don't know if we get into these relationships because we want to feel good together or if this is a business, but depending on how you navigate, you have to learn communication skills. You have to learn that, hey, I don't get into relationships for love. I get into a relationship because it's a business. I need to survive America and I need some more money. Like you have to learn that about yourself because I'm sure that there's someone who can match that reality for you. And this is where we start to sit. When we get online and someone doesn't match our reality, there's some place online that could match your reality. And if you want to be in those places, you have to also be reminded that there's an echo chamber that can be in place. Someone could just be saying things to agree with you, but they're not challenging you because you don't know how to communicate against a different perspective than yours, which is why I think men and women together, they work best. Because we're looking at two people who are different from one another. And if they learn, if they can if they can go through this game of life and learn how to work one another being so different, they've mastered Earth. That's who I think the heroes are. The people who are like, I'm so different, but I can see the God in you, and I can see how to love better with you, even though you're so different from me. When we go back to the Kev on stage video, he's showing a little clip. I went to go find that clip because I was just thinking to myself, like, did she really just say it like that? What was there anything else she could have possibly said? So let's watch this video of what she decided to share on her social media page. So we are going to watch what she shared on her video that she felt was full context. And so let's watch and see what that full clip says here.
If you got to do 50-50, that means you're half of a man. Oh, they don't like. I wish I had more men here today. Because both of us got punished for when the sin came in the world. The women's was to be birthing children and go through pain and go through menstruals, bleeding. You can't handle that. And a man's job was to work from sunup to sundown.
We have someone here who's passionate, y'all. She is passionate. Here's some keywords that came out. You're half of a man if you don't want to go 50-50. Here is what inspires me to create content on the internet, is that the way that we choose our words. I'm not the word police, but I probably come off as the word police because I do that in my own life. I know that there are times where I say words, and I learned from my family and friends that I could have delivered that differently, right? I also learned that I am always thinking about my words because they mean a lot. I think there's a lot of power in it. So one thing that is discouraging is that when we are sharing our message, that we have to belittle someone. But someone going half and half on someone going half 50-50 on someone doesn't necessarily mean that they're less than a man. We don't know their dynamic. There could be a man that's going half and half with someone who is less than a man. We don't know their dynamic. We don't know these people on the internet. And this is what always messes me up about going to sermons at churches, is that sermon creators, givers, they'll give this message and they'll be like, y'all doing this, y'all out in the street, y'all in the club. And I'm sitting here like, who? Not me. Just say your message. What's your point? Maybe it's for the person who receives it to believe that they're in the club. But I'm like, does it take a lot of effort and work to be creative in our art where we can still edify in our words? Or does edify means that we have to pull people down? Does edify mean that we have to make someone look stupid? Or like, I'm just confused on why we choose to use words that way. I get it. Sometimes being kind and soft with your words isn't ideal. But you can still like say it rough and tough. You can give all your without downing anyone. Your message still can go through if you say it rough and tough. Like you can still say the truth without downing anyone. Because I have a theory that a lot of people are just learning how to be on Earth. Maybe some people have been here before. I don't really know. I don't remember being here before. I don't even remember when they put out the book on how to do it right. And the book that they say to use is a little confusing sometimes. So anyway, the next thing I wanted to share was she mentioned her belief systems. So this is very important when I review content. I'm looking at the belief systems because he that have an ear is something that I get from the Bible. If you don't have an ear for what you're listening to, then you don't have to listen to it. It's not match. Going back to it's a match. It doesn't match your values. It doesn't match your belief systems. It might give you the opportunity to expand your understanding and communicate if you look at different perspectives, but you don't have to, especially if it bothers you, if it brings the worst out of you. If you decide to listen to a different perspective, what you're offering yourself is an opportunity to learn if you have any blind spots. It's an opportunity to learn if you're fearing anything. You're fearing learning the other person. So her belief system is about the punishment that happened with Adam and Eve's story. Some people might interpret that differently, but she's looking at the punishment. So if I'm listening to her content and I'm listening to her belief system, this is what I'm working with. That's something that she believes in. So she believes in that. So with that belief system, she carried another story. We talked about creating stories that the man was responsible for this and the woman was responsible for that. I think that there is validity in looking deeper into that message, especially if you say that you read the Bible, is that, yeah, when we look at that story and lean into that story, zoom in, we see that Adam was taking care of things on his own before a woman came into his world. She was helping, but do we understand clearly what she was helping with or what her duties was when it comes to helping? How do we know that helping wasn't just being soft? How do we know that helping wasn't supposed to be just having someone to talk to? Well, maybe after the curse, it gets confusing because now we see that there were work is required and life is different. When we think about a peaceful setup might not look like someone having to work for you in order to survive. It might look like I just want somebody to talk to. And one of the big dreams that I have for my channel is to accomplish how do we live peacefully amongst one another, mostly in my life. I'm using this, this is a tool, but how do we live peacefully with one another? Right? How do we get closer to living peace within ourselves so that internet, going inner with the net, right? What do I need to disentangle? What am I all caught up into? And I use cult like I do with my book because cult thinking, cult perspectives don't only come from these weird churches that we see. It comes from our everyday life and interactions with concepts like, I ain't going 50-50. Or women who think they ain't going 50-50, they gonna be single, right? We being me too, get caught up in certain concepts and we believe them, but we don't really investigate why we believe it and why does it trigger us so much. Does a man that comes on a page where someone's saying something like that, do they investigate that maybe they just feel like they aren't wanted or they're not enough and that they'll never be enough, but they truly want a woman? Or do they want a woman to do everything to their desires, but don't have any room for pleasing that woman? That's a tricky conversation. And I've been having it because there's this idea that goes out into the space that this is what a man should do. This is what a woman should do. And who is dominating? Like whose love, care, and desire should dominate? Should it be that I'm a man and it doesn't matter if a woman wants to be cared for? It doesn't matter that she wants a nurturer. But I'm a man and I need her to wash my dishes and dry my clothes and iron them real crisp. And that's what I want. I don't care about what anyone else wants. In that case, you must get an AI doll because you can form these AI dolls to please you in that way without being human. But when we are interacting with humans, we have to realize that they might want something too out of the situation. Like a woman might want, this is where I think this idea that women want a 6-figure man, she wants all the money comes from. I think she wants safety. I think there's been a history of us assuming that from the days of old that the men and women stayed together because they love, but in some cases they stayed together for survival. And they stayed together because systems were in place that didn't protect the woman. And so sometimes when people are talking, they're crying, they're roaring, and they're saying things that sound childish because they really don't feel safe. They haven't been able to grow up. They haven't been able to they haven't been given the opportunity to mature because they are systems that's causing us not to grow and stay stagnant. And I will say this, I have seen the smartest people have very childish responses to emotions and life when it comes to conversations about love and relationships. It's a tender spot. But it's coming to a point where it seems like men don't like women and women don't like men, especially with certain narratives. But if we truly believe that we like each other and we want to love each other, there's a certain amount of consideration, patience, kindness that needs to be distributed. And it can't be all one-sided. We can't just lean on the man's side and say like, oh yeah, they got it right. And we can't all lean on to the woman's side and say, oh yeah, like they've been so terminated. We need to realize that in order for us to actually resolve this, to get to a solution, it requires us working together. And this is not a mastermind class. This is not something phenomenal. This is very simple. But I'm just going to say the simple things because we are seeing the complicated things as well. So on this spot of the internet, I'm inspired to talk very, very long about this because I'm taking a lot of time. Boom. Because it's very simple. I hope that every time I play a new video that you realize that how simple it can be. Let's look at this next video. So what I did here next, right, is I actually ended up watching this full video, giving me a little bit more context based off of what she shared. But then I wanted to see, well, what does the rest of her content looks like, right? And I came across this in less than like 1 minute. I came across this video and I want to share this because I think this adds to our relationships and the way that we review life. Okay, so I came across this video. It's very short, but I think that it's important because if you look at her first video, you might build a narrative about who she is. I still don't know this woman, but let's look at this.
Some men can't even celebrate Father's Day. They broken too. They hurt too. Stop blaming them by the way they act and try to get to the root cause of why they act that way.
Okay, clap, clap. Clap, clap. You know why I thought this video was telling? I don't know this woman. I don't know. Sometimes people can say words and it can be good and we don't need that person to always match. That's why I think words are powerful because we can do something with these words. Here is what I want to do here. She's mentioning that she has a revelation that some men are broken. Some women are broken too. That is where we can sit and reflect on, is that because some people are broken, it might be a broken record about the things that they say. That we might receive the broken parts of them on the internet. But if we feel like we truly aren't broken, then the way that we receive them is not by breaking them into more pieces, is by giving them something else to consider. Like we see in the video, Kev gave something else to consider, that it can work with 50-50 from what seems like a broken mentality. Seemingly, everyone can perceive things differently, look at perspective differently, but the theory is that a lot of us don't have it all together, which you also hear me say over and over again, but the brokenness is there. And so us working together with edifying with our words instead of destroying with our words makes more sense to me. I feel like there's more fruit in that because check it. You are a man in America or a woman in America. You have content that exposes men and women to be these evil people. You're given evidence to keep that fire burning. If your true goal is, I want men and women in better relationships, it is about exposing some of our weaknesses, but it's also edifying and giving tools and giving resources and communicating what do you want to see? Is that a match for everyone? Does that serve your dynamic? But if your case is, I just want to be mad at women, I just want to be mad at men, then that's your God. Like that's what you're focused on. That's what you're going to get evidence of. More evidence to see how bad a man can be and how horrible a woman can be. But if you truly only have these conversations because you want love, then you got to look at ideas of love in the right places. Maybe it could be these fairy tales. Maybe it could be these stories that are told online about love. Or it could be coming from you. It could really be investigating, what all brought me here? Who do I want to be as a person? And who do I want to match with as that person? Because sometimes people will say, you can't be somebody, you can't want somebody if you haven't been that person. So that means if I'm looking for someone who's wise or who's a leadership and can build a car, that means I have to learn how to build a car. Even though I could be wise in leadership, I have to learn how to build a car. No, your matching system isn't always apples to apples. The wisdom in it is I am someone who wants someone to build a car, for example, and the person who can build a car is okay with building for someone. They have a desire. There's something in their heart that wants to build. That's matching wiser. So when a woman says, I want a man with 6 figures, does she need to have 6 figures? Maybe not, but she might need to be wise in what it takes to attract or be in an environment for a man with 6 figures. And she might want to emphasize on her wisdom and making sure that he's just not a man of money, but he's a man of character. That would be more beneficial. That's just a theory. Maybe not. Okay. For those who have men who have a lot of money and it's working out for them not to have character, please let me know in the comments. I want the full story. Like, I really want, no one comments on my pages right now, but I want people to comment all their different perspectives, their different storylines. Like, that is a full, rich comment box to me. Like, tell a little difference in the story. Like, show, like, hey, I understand that might be how someone feel right now, but I just want to give you evidence that I have a man with 6 figures and I don't have to work. And that works for us because his value system was he grew up with a household where the man took care of it and he just has it. He used his resources to be in that position. He's a man that wants to honor and love in that way. That's just him. And I match with him. Another person can come in the comment box and says, I have a man that's 50-50. And you know, for 50-50, for 50 years, we was 50-50. But at the last 10 years of our marriage, I had the most fulfilled life because I loved him through those 50 years. And he was able to tap into his best self. And now those 50 years are like nothing to me because I'm living a life that I never thought I could live because the way I supported him. These might be real idealistic views, but I'm interested in the evidence because I can't position myself to say I only know the stories around me. Like the stories around me are really simple. People get in a relationship and they do their best. They love each other. They have children. They become a village. They support each other. They say happy birthday. It's real simple over here. But when I come on the internet, it's just a wild, crazy place. Like, dang, like everybody out here, like just struggling. It's not because of your environment. You don't think maybe you should just go into a different space? If you don't know that, here's the opportunity to consider. Maybe you're in the kitchen and you want to be in a bathroom. Or maybe you're in a kitchen, you can't get to the bathroom, but you can be creative while you're in the kitchen to get to a better result. So you can move your way to the environment that you absolutely want to be in. Okay, so, oof. I had so many videos I wanted to share with y'all. I'm not going to go through all of these because it's getting ridiculous now. It's getting ridiculous how many videos came up that I wanted to share. I think I'm going to close out with 2 more videos. I want to close out with my favorite video. So I'm going to go into this next video. This is actually talking about entrepreneurship. And I think this is fitting. And I'll let you know why. But while you're listening, maybe think of some keywords that come out of here that relates to our conversation. And then you can see why I decided to add this to our discussion today. Because I got 5 more. So I literally had to be picky with what I share next. So I'm just going to share these last 2 and then call it a day.
Guys, it doesn't take as much to make $1 million as you think it does.
That's a fact.
We're no longer operating in the 80s, the 60s, the 90s even. This is a whole new time period and entrepreneurship looks very different. But the third reason that you have not made $1 million is because of you're comfortable. You are comfortable, and comfort is the thief of growth.
Say that one more time.
Comfort is the thief of growth.
Break it down. Break it down.
Your stagnation, you saying, oh, I'm making enough because I'm able to pay my bills. You don't have a growth mindset. When you decide that you're making just enough money, you're doing just enough with your business, you have just enough team, then you're going to stay in a position of just enough. Your ability to find a way to be comfortable where you are, and you could be doing great. That's the thing. Some of you right now are comfortable because you're actually doing really well. You're actually doing really well. You're not suffering. You're not incapable of paying your bills. You're not running a business. You're an entrepreneur. You're the first graduate in your family. You're the first business owner in your family. You've been a business owner for the last 4, 5, 10 years. You're making 6 figures. You're doing okay. You're above average. But deep down inside, you really want 7 figures. Yeah. But because you are comfortable there, because you don't want to try new marketing strategies, you don't want to hire that coach or mentor because you've gotten this far on your own. So I'm going to stay right here, right? Because you don't want to network with other people, because you don't want to do the things to scale, you've chosen comfort, and it's stealing from you your growth. The reason that you haven't made $1 million is because you're comfortable at 100,000.
Goodness gracious.
Yo, lots of fun things to talk about. I want to connect them, and I'm interested if you were able to make any connections. This video came through my algorithm today, same day that I received the first video, and I was like, dang, like this is matching. Some of the keywords that's coming out is comfort is the thief of growth, right? So we're thinking about comfort being a thief of growth. We're talking about entrepreneurship, but some people will look at marriage as a business. And so when you're making business decisions, you have to be mindful of like the setup of that building. So when we start to build a foundation of a business or a family or home, it requires us thinking. It requires us reflecting on the pieces that we might not think of that are happening, that are not happening in that year, but could happen in 5 years, 10 years. So when we're thinking about a foundation, building a house, and we're thinking about a carpenter, which was the occupation of those who believe in Jesus Christ, that was his occupation. I think about a blueprint. So the blueprint is I have an understanding of what it is that I want to design here, what it requires for designing, and I have to make a decision if I'm going to put the effort or invest resources to do so. Sometimes investing resources in a marriage or relationship means investing in learning yourself, investigating your triggers, investigating your belief system, investigating why you want this marriage in the first place. Where did that come from? Investigating who you are choosing to be with and studying them to see if they will be someone who will tear your house down or build your house up. That takes work. So in some cases, people will go through what's called a courtship, where there is no physical touchness. They learning each other and seeing, one, do they like each other? But two, what type of mindset do they have? So again, she mentions the growth mindset. I use a growth framework. The opportunity in life is to grow. We think about plants and how they grow and how they work together. We have some male plants and some female plants, and when they work, and they can work together to form something beautiful. That's what marriage is. But the thing about the singleness, and I'm going to couple this with what she said about you could be doing well, is that there might be comfort in someone being single. So some people might assume that a woman saying that she got a job and she's doing right, that she wants a man or needs a man, she might actually be okay. She might actually be okay. And we have to make room for that. That just because a man isn't in a woman's life doesn't mean that her life is falling apart. Her life could be doing well because she's working on herself. What the audience that we need to talk to is the woman who's doing good for herself, but she actually wants a partner. Those are two different people. So you're talking to two different audiences. So the person who actually wants to be in a partner and they're doing well for themselves have to understand what they have to do to change the dynamic of the stories that they keep seeing over and over again. If I keep seeing the deadbeat man, do I assume that only deadbeat men exist? Or do I use that same business mentality, that entrepreneurial mentality to get to the environment, to get to the resources that I need so I can see something differently? That might be therapy. Maybe you only see those type of men because that's only where your eyes attract to. Maybe that could be a coach. There was a woman who paid money for a coach for her dating. Like, that's how she invested in this idea of what she actually wanted, because she had the desire. And that's the other key word, desire. If people are online and they don't desire the other person, then Go after what you desire. You don't have to have these conversations over and over again to say that someone is not good. Go after what you desire. Have conversations and fruit there. It might be worth building fruit in what you desire versus building fruit in places that's dead. Like the fig tree without any fruit. Like, we don't need that anymore. So those conversations should die. If you have trouble with women and you don't have the desire to understand and know, like, why am I limited in this space? What do I need to do in order to have a perfect partnership? Then just die there. So here's the thing about when I look at it from the perspective of a man, and I'm trying my best. If he's looking for a woman and he's getting all these women on the internet who are influenced by the internet and they say, I need a 6-figure man, da 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 da. Would it hurt him to leave his comfort level and to try his best to be 6 figures? He might be in a different position. He might even be cocky when he gets there, and he might not like any of those women. But does it hurt him that he was challenged to get more, to make a better life for himself so he doesn't have to struggle day to day? If the challenge is for the man to develop from a low state and go beyond his comfort level, that's going to be a gift whether he chooses to be with that woman or not. But here's the beautiful part. The woman who decides to still see that man does have the foundation to build that, he just doesn't have the resources and environment, but she has the resources and tools to support them. In some cases, that doesn't work. I won't neglect that. But in some cases, they work together and they see something beautiful. Going back to the Kev on stage, they saw something beautiful, but they worked together through it based off of the narrative that he shared. They worked together through it, and they were creative in all of the ins and outs of what that looked like for them. So marriage requires creativity. It requires you matching appropriately, and it requires you being aware enough about what your belief systems are and matching accordingly. Because if you try to match with someone who doesn't have the same belief system, the conversation is dead. If you are only talking to women who want 6-figure men with 6 feet, and you have 2 figures and 2 feet, then you need to talk to a different audience. You need to talk to an audience who can see something different in you. But the question is there anything else to look when they only see 2 feet and 2 figures consistently? Is there something else that they should be seeing? Should they be seeing, like, I only have 2 figures and 2 feet, but look what I do. Like, I have a nurturing spirit. Like, I'm the one who is supportive when my woman has her goals and dreams. Like, that's what I provide. Like, if working on that character, like if there's something that's harming you or stopping you from growing yourself in the physical world, like literally you can't grow yourself unless you get surgery if you're not tall enough. But maybe the system is against you as a Black man and you can't grow yourself. Can you look at the evidence of men who have grown? Do you have a desire to grow? If you want to grow, can you do that? Go on the women's side. If you only see deadbeat men, is it possible for you to navigate to another place where you see men who aren't deadbeat and are married? What do you think stands out about that woman? Is it that she's taking care of herself? She's feeding herself well, she's nurturing herself, and she operates as a beautiful flower, and that's what she wants to be? Or do you see a woman who's using her wisdom and supporting him? That man seems happy. You know, when I know a happy man, I know a happy man when all he talk about is his wife. And you know that he does it intentionally, and everything, like his wife is somebody he appreciates. When a man is unhappy, he might not talk about his wife at all. He might never bring her up, or he might be complaining about her in front of people, which I think is a delicate spot, because even if you decided to complain about her in front of other people, you also lean into this area where you must have left the relationship mentally, because there's not even enough respect to go back to that person you have a problem with and talk with them first, right? The conversation about the conversation about relationships are so long, but I have to stop. I have to stop talking. I want to show you this last video. I have a few podcast coming up with Justin Scott that I want to share with you. And by the time this video posts, hopefully they will also be posted. But if you want to do yourself any service, I would consider going to Justin Scott's page and looking through a few pieces of his content, because there's perspective about this war between men and women that I think we all should consider, and he's able to communicate very well. So I'm going to close with this video that I've seen with Justin Scott that I think is helpful in this conversation when it comes to, why do we even choose love? Why do we want relationships? What is it that we actually want to get to when it comes to the harvest? So harvest is the last part of the growth framework that I have here on this channel. And that question is, what is the fruit of it all? Like, what do you want to see? Let's watch this video. I feel like I'm talking a lot, and I have been, but I'm so passionate and excited.
Boyfriend, girlfriend, you keep trying to be the role when the role was just to name the field. You weren't supposed to become each other's property. See, that's the main thing I'm getting at. You were supposed to become each other's mirror, a field of presence, a companion to rhythm, right? An experiment in truth with a heartbeat. See, you're not in a relationship, you're standing in one. Right? The field is the point of this whole thing. So when love is real, it doesn't really wrap around the body like a leash. It spreads like a clearing. It's not a checklist. It's not a label. It's a frequency two people tend together. So you're not dating someone to possess them. You're walking beside them in a space sacred enough to name. So boyfriend is not ownership. Girlfriend is not a contract. Right? That just to clear it up. They are names for presence held long enough to become sacred. It's a field where we become together. Right? Not as one, where we become together, right? So just to kind of dig into it further, it should feel safe without sedation. It should feel intimate without ownership. And it should be clarifying without surveillance and revealing without needing to name every tremble. See, you should feel like like a door opened. Right? Not a job started. And you should feel like your silence is welcome, like your joy doesn't need to be proven, and like the softest questions don't need an apology, because you're not my partner because I need to be chosen. You're my partner because I can be present with you. Right? Not to find the one, not to fix loneliness, not to secure a future, but to practice being human again with someone watching, to metabolize ego through kindness, to stand naked in feeling without crumbling, and to stay whole while touching someone else's core. The point isn't marriage. The point is movement. Right? That's the point of being together. Movement. The point is, can I be known here without disappearing? Because love isn't the ladder. It's the lab where we stop. It's the lab where we learn to stop climbing. You don't belong to them. They don't belong to you either. You belong to the field you've been building together. And if that field ends, you don't have to burn it. You bow, you breathe, you thank the echo for walking beside you, because real love leaves soil behind and not scars. That's what a girlfriend is. That's what a boyfriend is. A gardener in the rhythm of becoming. And if you aren't getting any further with the person, if you aren't even walking even a day further in time, one thing I talked about, right, in a video named Commitment versus Relationship, which is that a lot of people don't understand that there's a difference between a relationship story and a love story. Like a relationship story for a lot of people is just a stage of progress in their life. I'm just getting in a relationship so I can be a husband. Right, but you need to be with somebody who gets in a relationship with you because you move them. They move you, right? To betterness, to becoming. It's just the better side of it. So this is just the part 2 to the performative love video, just the idea in principle, because I wanted people to have a good idea of it. But I also want to talk about behaviorally what this looks like, because real love doesn't wait for the breakdown to tune in. It checks the tone of your silence. Right? It knows your I'm fine by the way you close the fridge. It listens for you in the gaps between words. They remember what made you tense yesterday, not because you reminded them, but because they witnessed you. That's all it is. Love acts before you crumble, before the shutdown, before the withdrawal. It says, do you need space or softness right now? It doesn't even rush to fix. It offers presence without prescription. It reads your body like scripture and not a machine to be corrected. And it leaves room for the ugly, because not every part of you going to be poetic. Sure ain't. Love is not profit based. So what I mean by this is that it's not just a edited down list of positive experiences. You're going to feel the whole wave. You're on the wave together, right? Real love doesn't flinch, because sometimes the truth comes out messy, scared, jealous, and unfinished, all at the same time, right? And it might come out agitating, right? But it breathes deeper and it makes room without turning the moment into punishment. They didn't shut down because you were too much. They leaned in because you were finally felt safe enough to show it all. That's all it is. But here's another thing that love isn't. Love isn't recording every day. You forgot to text. You didn't show up perfect. You had an off day, right? Like how a lot of people do. Real love doesn't build a case against you. It builds a memory around your intention. So they hold your heart, not your mistakes, right? Because that's what they're here to tend. Your heart, right? The field, right? That y'all are in together. But this is another one. This is going to be hard for some people. Love mirrors without stealing. You get to be your full self, and they don't take credit at all. They simply reflect your light without needing to own it. They amplify your joy without curating it for themselves. And they weren't proud of who they made you. They were proud of who you became in this field together. So to understand it behaviorally, because I wanted it to be something very visible and revisitable. Because real love is a door that opens every day, even when you're messy inside. It's a silence that's allowed to breathe. And it's a correction made with kindness, not condescension. And it's a fight that doesn't cancel the feel, and a return to softness that happens after every rupture. Right? Like, it's a presence in the field together. So, just so people get it, what you have with a person is a bond. You don't have a person. You have a bond. Right? Like, and you have a bond worth naming. That's it.
Oh, words. I don't know any of these people on the internet. Sometimes I reach out and I say, "Can you have a conversation with me?" And Justin was so kind to say yes. And that just kind of speaks volume to people. Is this idea that we all are in this together, that at the end of the day, we all reach darkness. Okay. And maybe there's still light in that darkness. We don't know. But as we live on earth, like, how do we want to experience each other? And for me, it's the words. So I share all these videos with you all because I love the power of words. And even though I don't know these people, I don't know if they actually believe the things that they do or embody the stories that they share. But there's inspiration that comes from the words. Like, you can be inspired by the words that divide us, or you can be inspired by the words that edify, and you could just choose what you want to do with those. And so this is what I choose to do. I hope that you all enjoyed this experience. I did. These are such good videos about this topic, and there's so many more. I don't know if I'm going to keep going on with this topic, because I honestly was trying to narrow this down, and look at me. I can't more internet for too long, but I tried to narrow this down because I wanted someone to consume it. But at the end of the day, if you made it this far, you can click on the like button, because I think you might like it here. You might want to take your time and slow down and think. And I went a little fast here. Like, there's so many things that I really wanted to slow down with when it comes to this concept, because I don't have a duty to save the world with my words, but I hope that whoever has an ear can be inspired, because I have an ear and sometimes I am inspired by other words. And I'm learning that I'm learning things about myself, and that is I like to share and express. Wherever that lands for you, I hope that it lands well. But too many keywords out of this. There's too many keywords and phrases out of this. But I just want to talk about them. Since I'm already at 2 hours, I'm going to go get myself into 2 hours for this, and then I'll be done. He says, read your body like scriptures. That love is something that reads your body like scriptures. There is a verse that came to mind when he mentioned this, and it was about walking in the spirit. Like, you don't need the Bible itself, like you're walking in the spirit. And when I get to the conclusion of a lot of my videos, I think about thinking on these thoughts. Like, we can think on particular thoughts, but we also can practice the fruits of the spirit. So there's a practice that comes with being human that we have to sign up for, especially if we're going to complain or we're going to have attitude. We have to understand, what is it that we complain about, and have we tried the other options that might yield a different result? And if we have, and we have struggled with it, then so be it. But if you haven't, and you don't know the outcome of choosing life, then practice choosing life. Now, he also mentioned that love is like a door opening and not a job starting. This is the beautiful part about love, and the beautiful part about this decision making is sometimes you can come across love. Maybe you do believe in a creator, maybe you do believe in a God, and you give everything to God. You can come across love from that perspective in multiple ways that doesn't require a lot of work, a lot of studying. It could be that you just come to earth and you don't have to worry about your food, your clothing, just like the birds in the fields and all the animals. They don't have to worry about work and money. You can experience love when you don't have to owe anyone but love. So we talk a lot about money in this conversation, 50-50. And we know that money is a part of this current system. But for some reason, I have this theory that it's not really the money. It's us as the people. We are the currency. The way that we exchange with each other is much more powerful than the actual money. Money is just what comes from our choice to work really hard for it, or our choice to be a community and provide that way. Like, money is just one of the many resources that we have to choose from. When I look out into the earth and I look at the walks I go on, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so many trees, and you could create a garden. Like, the perfect thing about gardens is that we complain about the grocery store prices, but we really can put a few seeds in some soil and grow fruit that might end up being, we might grow fruit that keeps growing for us. Like, we clip a little bit and it just keeps growing. Like, that doesn't require a lot of effort. So we want love that doesn't require a lot of effort. But anyway, y'all, I have to close the video now because there's so much more to talk about. But if you take anything from this, take investigating yourself. The internet, whatever is a net for you when you're on the internet, investigate it. Until next time, hold on to you as much as you can. Hold on to your health, your well-being, and your mind. Be mindful. Bye.